But you good?
I'm good. I see my brother's logging in. This is not going to be good.
Oh, easy. Okay, what's your brother's screen name on here?
Afan Siddiqui, Ali Siddiqui, they're all here. Wow, this is going to be
hello,
amazing.
fam. Hello, fam.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
We're going to do nothing but talk good stuff about Arsheen then if we have family joining us today.
And they're not interested in that, so they should just leave, so it's fine.
We'll keep it extra PG up in here.
Oh.
Up in here. Okay, cool. Right.
Cool.
You're with us, right, Arsheen? So tell us a bit about yourself, right? So actually, hold on one second. Just hold on. Okay, right, so let me start this off, right? So my name is Jonah Batumzi. I'm a multidisciplinary creative and founder of the Blindian Project. The Blindian Project is a crowdsourced documentary project, and it's a community as well too, looking to normalize Black and South Asian relationships and dismantle anti-Blackness. So we do that in a lot of different ways. We have started to create products, of which this book is one of the products that we'll be releasing. And we create spaces. Those spaces could be DJs playing, so it could be musical, incorporating Black and brown music. It could be a cooking class, incorporating all of the things that we love to eat, from dosas to idlis to sambar to
biryani,
to jerk chicken to southern fried chicken to mac and cheese. So yeah.
Oh my God, mac and cheese.
What else do we do? We have book clubs as well too. We have some writing clubs we're going to start with as well too. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create spaces, or we are creating spaces by which Black and brown communities essentially can learn from each other and grow with one another. So Arsheen, tell us who are you? Tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us why you think you're on this live with us today.
Why I think.
Yeah, well,
What's the assumption? Yeah. My name is Arsheen Shamila. Like Jonah said, I am a journalist. I major in African studies and global Asian studies, and I'm really passionate about race. I think that one thing that's really important for everybody to know about me is I've had these conversations in my family about anti-Blackness before their time. You know what I mean? So that's something that's really I'm passionate about, race specifically in North America. And so that's, I guess, a little bit about me. That's my passion.
And where are you from? Where's the family from?
I'm actually from Pakistan. I was born there. I'm an immigrant to Canada. So I live in Canada right now in the GTA area, which is the Greater Toronto area.
Yep.
And I've lived here my whole life, but I've always felt really close to my roots. And I think what really drives me in terms of like inclusion is representing my culture the way it's actually is, rather than what, you know, the media portrays it as. And so I get really involved in these kind of conversations because I think that narratives and like different kind of narratives are really important. And so I've always wanted to, you know, portray the Pakistani in me and how that might be different than somebody else. And so, yeah, I guess that's why we're here in this live.
No, I think it's beautiful. I can't say that. I think that's one of the reasons that we wanted to really get you involved with what we're doing, is just to have that different viewpoint. I'm very much a believer in the more different voices that you have as part of the collective. Just the stronger the message will just be stronger in the end, right? You have different people
Absolutely.
you can call on, and I know there've been times that I've been like, Arsheen, what do you think of this? Can you take a look at this? And you'd be like, no, that doesn't look right. What are you doing? I'm like, no. What's that mean? He's like, oh no, baby, you're not doing it right. Yeah. No, baby, what's she doing?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just amazing to be able to you know, rub ideas and thoughts and things off of people. So really appreciated that. Okay, so how did you initially?
Yeah.
So how did you initially find the community?
So I was actually trying to think about that too, because it was a few months ago.
Yeah.
And it was really around like the Black Lives Movement was like really like huge. And I think somebody had sent me, oh, you know what it was? You guys had so I went to the Wendy Williams show like years ago
Okay.
with my best friend. She's obsessed with Wendy Williams,
In
and
New York City, yeah. In New York
their
City, yeah.
DJ is Blindian. Yeah, New York City. Yeah.
Oh no, no, no! It's not the DJ. No, no, no! It's not the DJ. It's the MC. It's the
The
host.
MC, the
Yes,
guy that hypes it up
and
like
his name is
before the
Marco.
show starts.
His name is Marco Glorious,
So
and
you
he was.
guys had him.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we. Yeah, 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 yeah.
You guys had him, and I guess I found it because of that, and I was like, oh my God, I love what these guys are doing, because I would definitely believe in, interracial relationships and like, unity through that. And so I was just like so intrigued, and I was like, oh my God, let me get involved. And
Cool.
that's
And
how
then
I,
I think
yeah.
next thing I remember, then we were chatting via DMs and having a good chat, and then it was like, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I write a bit, and I had this idea of the book in my head, and then you're like, oh, I'm an editor, I do that. I was like, should we work together? You're like, yeah, let's do it. And it was
Yeah,
just
exactly.
it was just one of those. And that's what this whole year has been about, really. I think it's been about connecting with people in different ways, and just finding that you're able to build just really meaningful connections by what people sorry, my impression is that people perceive that this online world, this online space, like it's a waste of time. I think that it can be a waste of time, but I also think that there's a lot to gain from using it in the right way. And I think that this was one of the right ways. And it's a pleasure to be able to make the connection via social. So
I
I'm just
agree. I think I'm really intentional, like outside of not being intentional. Like I joke around on Instagram and I'm really goofy.
yeah,
But I try to, okay. I know you have a lot to say about that, so we'll just leave it. But I do try to stay really intentional with what I post and the way I interact with people. I think that there should be some sort of silver lining or hidden message in the way of what we're saying. It should be more powerful than just sending a photo or posting a photo of yourself. And I do that too, but
for sure you
yeah,
do that a
so
lot, and a lot of yeah, okay.
yeah, and let's just
I'll
not go
leave it
there.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just leave it there.
Right. So, yeah, and what was it that what was it that initially attracted you to the sorry, I guess you told me it was Marco Glorious, but uh,
I can give you more detail if you'd like, because there is sort of more background to
yeah,
that.
tell me, because I was going to ask
So
something, but I mean, your family's on here, so let me let you expose yourself first before I try to expose you. Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I don't even think I'm going to answer it the way you want me to, but I'll
No, no,
answer it
no,
the
go
way
on.
I'm
This is
going
just no,
to,
no,
and
no, go
then
on.
you can, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
I grew up with a Moroccan aunt, and my uncle was married to her, and he's Pakistani and she's Moroccan. And so, there's this whole layer of like, you know, going outside the family. And my uncle always believed that that's not right. You shouldn't ever do this, like going outside the culture and things like that. But I was always like, no, you should. And those conversations at a really early age sort of forced me to sort of find my space and what I think inclusivity looks like, and why it's so important to talk about it within our own spaces rather than, go out and, rally outside and tell everybody why, Black Lives Matter and things like that. And so I started having these conversations really early on with my own family, being that
What
they
is
were
early on?
immigrants.
What's early on? What do you think? What's early? Is that 12? Is that 15? Is
12,
that 19?
literally 12. And by
Okay.
16, I had already told my mom and my parents vocally that I was not going to be a product of arranged marriage. I told them that I was going to marry whoever I wanted to, whatever color it was. And it took a long time for them to actually accept that and be like, all right, we understand that like our daughter is going to marry whoever she wants to, no matter his skin color. And so that was a conversation I had always, and people knew exactly where I stood with that. And I even remember sharing with you when we first spoke was my brother's fiance is white, and it's a really big surprise to my family because he always wanted to like be with like a brown girl, and like he was really into like keeping the culture the way it is. And it was a surprise
Yeah.
to my family because he never vocalized it, but here I am always like rallying and saying like we need to be more accepting, and there is internal racism and there's colorism and things like that. And so I was always just like the easy target because I was so vocal about it, but
Mm,
I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
mm. And sorry, just not to turn this into a family show or anything like that, but
It's going to become a
how,
family show for sure. Yeah.
yeah, but how did your family receive your just being outspoken? It sounds like you're just being outspoken, really, and being outspoken about things that they maybe you weren't that way in the culture, or it was different from their thinking?
I think that always my family just thought it was like immaturity. Like it was like eventually I was gonna get to a coming of age, you know, point in my life where I was like, yes, I'm ready. Take me back home and let me get married to like an immigrant, right?
Mm,
It's like that's what they were hoping for.
mm,
And it just never happened. And so then I was continuously having these conversations about race and what like anti-Blackness looks like and all of that stuff. And even colorism, right? I think that's like a really small thing, but colorism is a huge thing in South Asian communities. And I was consistently talking about it. And so then eventually they just realized like, she's going to talk no matter what. Like, this is what she believes.
we
You know,
can't
this is
close
not
her
like,
mouth. We can't close her mouth. She's gonna say stuff. Yeah.
and she wasn't brainwashed by somebody like down the street. This is like something she believes, you know, this is not coming from immaturity. And as I got older, I started educating myself more on that because of the fact that, you know, I wanted to be, you know, speaking with facts. You know, I didn't want to just say like, stop hating Black people and stop hating brown people. I was so passionate about colonization and stuff like that. And so I went to school and I studied more about, you know, African studies and what colonization did and the aftermaths of colonization in both Africa and Asia at large. And so now I have, you know, things I can, you know, back that up with and not just say like, stop killing Black people. It's like, no, stop doing this because there's this like 400 years of systemic issues that we don't tackle. And so that's where I come from, I feel like, with like more historical context.
Gotcha. I think we have a wedding proposal for
Yeah,
you
we
in
do.
the
And let's
comments
just leave it.
already. First
Why are you
5 minutes
acknowledging that?
of jump.
I'm
I
telling you,
didn't
this is
do it.
my first live, so we have a
I
lot of
did
crazy
not
people on
plant
here.
them in the. I did not plant them in the audience. I swear. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
I think you
Okay.
did.
Right. So okay. So you're a journalist. You're into stories. You're into storytelling. That's the same as
I'm also
me,
a
right?
poet.
So
I think that's important to say. I'm also a
okay.
poet, though.
Okay. Tell me
Yeah.
about your poetry quickly.
My poetry is usually it's if it's not about, you know, make believe love, then it's about
Make
colonization
believe love.
and yeah, like imagine love, you know, like
Gotcha.
heartbreak and stuff. But it's more about like, you know, the after effects of like intergenerational trauma. Like that's something that I'm really passionate about. I think that women, South Asian women, and their narratives are often dismissed, and so that's why it's like something that I really like to talk about in my poetry more so than my journalism. I don't think I've had the chance to tackle into like some deep writing, except the one that the post that you and I posted on
The
here,
moti.
which yeah, the not
Yeah.
too moti
Not
for
too
the
moti for
roti.
the roti. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the most like journalistic approach that I had with that sort of issue. Like, you know, eating disorders in South Asian communities is a huge issue, and we are now discovering it slowly. But mostly my poetry is like perpetuated with like, you know, the love of decolonizing the brown woman, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
okay. So right. So when we see ourselves, it's the
Yeah.
title of our book. It's the
Yes.
book.
It's the book.
It is the book. It has a title now. And it's
I
about
love the
like
title.
90% done. And it's feeling really, really good. And I'm really excited. And I'm so happy that I'm so happy to have the opportunity to work on it with you and stuff. And I just feel like creatively, you know, we formed a good bond
For sure.
you know, I have a new friend now from the GTA. I have a couple friends in GTA. So
I don't consider you my friend. I don't know why you're saying.
okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Okay.
kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
know, I know, I know, I know. She does perform her poetry.
I do. I'm a
Dre,
little shy now these days,
maybe
but
we'll ask her
oops.
to maybe
No, we
we'll
will
ask
not.
her to do something at the end here. But okay, so
No.
when we see ourselves, firstly, before I even jump into the title of the book or talking about the book, why do you think that there are a lack of these stories and content in general just in circulation? Do you have
I
a
think that yeah, I definitely think that I think it's A because you know it's not endorsed by pop culture. It hasn't been. I didn't grow up with it being endorsed in pop culture. I think that what's really beautiful in this generation is that the kids that are 12, 13, 14 fighting, the Gen Zs that are telling their parents like anti-Blackness is a thing in brown communities, they have voices and they have backup. They have people like you that are doing a lot of the work. And so they can show their family like, look, this is a real issue. But when I was growing up, that wasn't a thing. And so I think that we're in that sort of, I guess, segue, that like
Mm,
bridge. We're in that phase of like it happening, you know, where like brown, black voices are important, and brown and black voices together are important. You know what I mean? Like I remember watching Mississippi Masala like 10 years ago, and it
yeah,
like changed my life because there was a black guy and a brown girl, and it was like, whoa, where does that happen? You know? And so I think that it's slowly trickling into pop culture because of the Black Lives Matters movement in terms of anything related to race. People are becoming hypersensitive about it, but it wasn't a thing even a few years ago. So I think
agreed.
because of that, there's still that missing gap of like, where are the books about these people? You know what I mean? Where do these people look to read a book that they can see themselves in? And I think that's the gap that we're bridging now. You know, creating stories or curating stories that are written by people that have experienced this, and then sharing it with the world. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. So you kind of jumped to the next point. There was
Yeah.
talking about, yeah. So the title of the book is called When We See Ourselves. Um, Titles. I'm usually, because I write a bit too, right? And I've published in some decent publications. Titles of articles are usually quite easy for me. And like I have this chat going with Dre and Anjali, and like whenever I'm talking about an idea or we're about to do a workshop, it's like I spit out the title or something like that. And I remember for the book title, I just kept on like firing across these names, and you just shoot them down. You just burn them down. No, that's not it, Jonah. No, no, I
Yeah.
don't like it. No, no.
And it was way before we were even comfortable with each other. It was like,
Yeah,
no, I don't like this. And, you know, I think that it was important. And I think I even said this to you. It was important for me to come up with something that really resonated with people from the jump. And even as a poet, like the title to me is the most important thing. And that's why oftentimes my poets don't have titles. Do you know what I mean? Like poems don't have titles. And so I was really like in on this. Let's come up with something that's more solid. You
you there? You back? Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. She left. Don't worry. It's all right. It's just technology. She will be back. Don't worry. She will be back, Afan Siddiqui. She will be back. You don't look very enthused in your picture, Afan. It's all good. Happens sometimes. She'll be back. So, do I have a story to tell? Do I have a story to tell? Just give us a second here, all right? There you are. Yeah, we're going to tell you, yeah. There she goes. There she is.
I just like I'm famous all of a sudden. I go on
There she
live and
is.
can you guys?
Famous. You're back. Oh, you're back. Yeah, you're back. You're back. Hello? You're not back. Come on. All right, we're going to try this one more time. If she does not come on, then I will go ahead and kick it from there. So, okay, right. Let me just look in the comments here quickly. Your request. Go live with Arsheen's. Waiting for Arsheen's. Okay,
Hi.
cool. We're here.
What were
We're
we talking about before this rude interruption?
so
The
rude.
title. The
Yeah, we're
title.
talking
We
about
were
the
talking
title.
about the
Yeah,
title.
we're talking about the
Yeah.
title. And I think you had given your point.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think that the title is the most important part, and I think that it needs to resonate with people. And so I think going back and forth, with each other so often about the title, we I think came up with um, see ourselves in it,
Yep,
just see ourselves, and then we came up with when we see ourselves. And so yeah, I'm happy with it. I think that it
I
it
love it. I love it.
works. I actually
For
do love it too. I just didn't want to say that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, for me, well, you kind of came up with it, so yeah, you would love it. So
No.
for me, obviously, I was doing a lot of research while I was putting the book together and just kind of getting these thoughts together. And I listened to this podcast about community. And the first podcast was with this guy who I think he used to be like he was like went to school for theology or something like that. So he was in the church. He was writing about rituals and different things of that, and how it kind of intersects with community. And he said something that just like really, really just like made me almost stop still. And what it was is that when we're kind of like intentional, or when we're actively reading stories, listening to stories, hearing stories, we try to reflect or see ourselves in those stories, as in put ourselves in the other person's shoes. And I feel like when we do that, um, we allow ourselves to reflect and think about how we can either make our situation, well, yeah, make our situation better, make our lives better, make the world a better place. So for me, it was always about reflections, or looking in a mirror, or just looking into these stories and reading something about it, and then being able to take something and put it into your own life, really. Because from the time that we've been posting stories on the IG profile, like, that's probably about 50% of our content. People are talking about that. People love that. That's what people resonate with. They say, that's my story. That happened to me. And I feel like it really, really brings people together when they feel like they can see themselves in the story, and it's something that they felt like they needed to hide about or be ashamed about for so long. So
Yeah,
I'm really excited about the well, yeah, I like the title. I'm really excited about the book in general. So um
I agree with you. Just to piggyback off of what you're saying, I think that oftentimes stories are written while not keeping a lot of us in mind. And I think I even shared that with you when we first started talking. Was I used to read this book called The Chicken Noodle Soup for the Teenage Soul, or something like
mm,
that. And it was different narratives of, girls writing in and getting advice for like their teenage problems. And I always used to try to really relate with them. And and I say this a lot in my poems too. Like, I used to try to find myself in stories that weren't written about me. And so I think even when crafting this together with you, I really wanted to showcase that these stories are for people to actually see themselves in them, because they're written about them and for them. And so that's really important, and
mm,
I also want to make this really this known too, is that these stories are not just for people that can relate to like being in a Blindian relationship. I'm not in a Blindian relationship. I'm not even Indian. You know what I mean? I'm Pakistani, but jokes aside, I
mm.
really wanted someone else to pick up the book and say, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know this about these people, or these struggles that some people go through because of their races or their, situations." And so it was really important that that was highlighted. Like, as a viewer, what are you taking away? Can somebody pick up this book who doesn't have anything to do with Black people or brown people and still take something out of that? And I think that's sort of like been my objective, to sort of
Yeah, no,
find that.
I think it's beautiful. So the community was built like, I mean, sorry, I forget the guy's name, John Jay, whoever, the guy who created Fubu, whatnot, for us, by us, like that tagline is just so powerful, and
Magical.
will be
100%.
powerful 50 years, down the line. So the community was built for us, yeah, by us as well too. I'm not specifically concerned with anybody outside of that community. If they want to participate or come in the community, they're welcome to, because at the end of the day, there's learning that needs to happen there as well too. Yeah. So
100%.
so it's important for us as Black and, you know, South Asian people, brown people, to buy into and to understand and to think and reflect on these stories. But we need other people to understand what is going on as well too. I think about this. I think about so we live in the UK, which is a pretty diverse place, and it was Diwali, and there is an English holiday called Guy Fawkes, which is like probably like a week before or 2 weeks before. Some guy stormed something and they light fireworks off. And so my wife went into a store and she's like, "Do you have fireworks?" And the lady just looked at her like, "What are you talking about? Like Guy Fawkes was 2 weeks ago." And she was like, you know what I mean? Like without any appreciation that, you know, Diwali was right around the corner. And so I think, and I love it, and I just appreciate it so much when people who aren't in a blending relationship, who maybe don't have any South Asian friends, are just like, look, I really appreciate that story because I'm learning something about the cultures. And I think when people learn or take that on, that's when acceptance and that's when you're able to break down stereotypes. So I like the fact of others, people reading the stories. And at the end of the day, it's about love. Anybody and everybody, regardless of your color, regardless of your age, you can understand or get an appreciation for what love is. I mean, my daughter's 4. Sorry, my daughter's 6. My son is 4.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I mean, I'm talking to them about
Wow.
love. Um, I tell them I love them at night. They just walk up to me sometimes and just say I love you. So everyone
Aw.
understands or can get an idea about what love is, and that's the true basis of these stories. So 10
Yeah.
stories, right? 10
Yeah.
stories, Black and brown love. We're touching on concepts from anti-Blackness to what else is in there? There's a lot of stuff about identity. There is Islamophobia. There is lost love. There's so many different concepts, and I just love the fact that it's from this, I'll say Blindian lens, but it's just like through from this lens of acceptance, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's a Blindian lens for sure, but I also think that there's just so much more layers that we often, if we think of a Blindian relationship, we think of like okay, it has to have a brown and a black person, and that's what makes the relationship, right? But I think that there's just so many layers that we don't explore just right off the bat, and this book allows you to do that. It allows you to see that there isn't this cookie cutter Blindian couple. You know, it isn't this Hindu girl and this, you know, African guy and like that didn't know each other, right? It's like there's layers to it. There's more diversity in these conversations and these stories, right? Whether it be, you know, LGBT, you know, narratives, or whether that be about Islamophobia or conversion, you know what I mean? There's just
Mm.
so much more, and there isn't this cookie cutter idea of what that looks like. And so I think the last, you know, few months have sort of been really good at explaining that for even me as somebody that's like editing. It's like, whoa, there's just so much more. And then, you know, having
What do
discussions
you
with
mean
you of
so
like,
much more? So much more to the stories or so much more to what?
there's just so much more to the stories, but also these people, they're not just black and brown. Do you know what I mean? And I know that's so easy to say, like, obviously, duh, like, you know, you're not just your race, but in society, we're often judged by our skin color. And then we're created these stereotypes around that, right? We
Mm.
have this idea of what a black person is supposed to look like. And that's why we talk so much about, you know, toxic masculinity. And that's such a huge thing that we're talking about now, because we have this narrative of what a black man is supposed to look like. And in the same coin, we have that same thing about a brown woman, what a brown woman is supposed to look like. She's supposed to be submissive, and she's supposed to really take care of her man, and supposed to be like this master servant situation. But it's like, come
Super
on, like,
traditional. Yeah, yeah.
right? And like
Yeah.
I've been, you know, I've had to deal with that a lot my whole life, like with people thinking that about even me as a brown girl and what my role is. And so these stories have helped me understand even more, and I think that will translate for people, is that it's so much more complex than you think, and there's just so much more to people that they have to deal with because of the cookie cutter ideologies that we have in society, you know. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't see color. Thank you very much. Cool. You should see color, because then you'll realize what disparities people face because of their race. But hey, that's just how I feel.
Yeah, it's like love. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, right. So, okay, cool. So, I mean, I think I kind of said this at the beginning of the top was, like I feel like you played a much larger role than just, just the editor and saying, here you go, take this and just edit it. We had some epic brainstorm sessions where I'd be explaining you an idea for like 30 minutes and you'd be like, yeah, yeah, just typing away, doing something else. Yeah. And I'm like, do you hear me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I think this is really, really good.
You don't get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're not
But
following.
no, we had some really, really good ideas and brainstorming sessions and stuff that's gonna like come to fruition in the book. So do you have any favorite kind of ideas or concepts that we came up with?
Yeah, I think my favorite was, of course, the question and answer, like the into the DMs or whatever we
Mm,
called it. I
mm,
think that was really important for me, not even because of, this whole interactive part of the book, but also because it allows you to see like what kind of DMs you're actually getting, and like
mm.
that there's real issues that we need to tackle. Like I think I even had this conversation with you when I was, going through the notes. We were going through the notes together of like my editing notes, and I was like, what the heck is this? Like one of the
Yeah.
questions. And this is a thing that people are really DMing you. And I think incorporating that into the book really allows you and people to see that there are issues in this. Like just because you don't see an issue. Well, I'm not racist. I love all people. You might say that, but you don't realize that the person next to you is actually still needing that education. You know what I mean? And needs to still take accountability. I think 2020 has become this year of accountability and learning where you play the role in this race spectrum and the systemic issues and whatever. And I think that there's still people within our community, right? Whether it's Indian couples or brown people or Black people that need to see that there are certain things that they still need to be educated about. And so into the DMs or, answering questions that people have actually asked, I think really helps you realize that, whoa, these are real issues. Like I might not think though these are issues, but other people have
Yeah.
these issues,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a question, and I might be jumping into it.
No, 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 go on.
Spoiler
Let's
alert.
jump. Let's jump. No, let's go.
There's a question about
Sorry,
conversion
sorry.
in
First
there.
of all, basically, the way that the book is framed is that you will have there are 10 stories in there. If you are part of the community and you look at the Instagram profile, we're not sharing them as much as we used to in the past, but you'll have stories from a couple, an individual, could be a person who is a product of a blending relationship or somebody who may have been in one in the past, essentially.
Yeah, like
And
lost
so
love.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So there are 10 stories like that. Following these stories, there's a section called In the DMs. In the DMs is either comprised of conversations that I've had just over the last year, 2020. So I have a white friend who I fell out with. I'm still calling him a friend, but I fell out with him. So some of the content may be from conversations that we had. Others may just be actual DMs that I actually received. So people actually saying to me, hey, you're speaking too much about Islam,
Oh,
and
yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. So I'm glad we're getting into
you're
that.
touching on conversion a little bit too much. By the way, that's not part of the South Asian story, and I can't relate to it. So can you please stop talking about that?
That's what I was going to talk about because it
Okay,
really
I'll
upsets
hand
me.
over to you then.
Yeah. So I was working on the book yesterday, and that came back up. I was rereading it, and it was basically a DM where somebody said that, they love the page and they love what, was going on here, but they can't relate to all these stories about conversion to Islam because that's not the typical South Asian narrative when it comes to Blindian relationships. And so, we don't want you to, I don't really want you to talk about it anymore. Why are you talking about it so much? You're making it seem like, everybody is converting. And so it was just so washed up, and it was so like it was spewing. It was honestly spewing Islamophobia, right? And like we learn about microaggressions and what that looks like and how it's not so straightforward every time. It doesn't have to be go back to your country for it to be racism and or Islamophobia. And in this situation, as somebody that is Muslim myself, like I was really offended by it, and B, it's not true, right? Like these are just because you don't see yourself in the story because it's about conversion doesn't mean that there isn't these layers that we're exploring that other people can relate to, right? So for instance, conversion doesn't only look like Islam conversion, like you have to convert from Christianity to Muslim, right? Conversion looks like a lot of things. There are people that convert to Hinduism or Sikhism and all of these other South Asian religions, right? And so I think that was really important for me to really like explore that more, like by the stories that we have in there. Is like Islamophobia was, I think, even when we were talking, is like was really important for me to want to include into
Yeah,
the
it
book.
was.
Really was, because it's a real thing. And whether you are a Hindu person or non-believer of any religion and you don't relate to conversion, I think that there's still something so powerful about understanding someone's story through that lens of like, oh my goodness, they really had to get the person that they love to convert, and what that looks like. That journey is so intense. It's not just let's go and sign the papers at the mosque or the temple. It's complex, and it comes with a lot of family tension. And so yeah, there's just so much more layers to conversion than what we see. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah. So sorry,
yeah.
really good point as well too. Like, while that person is saying that they can't relate to that, one thing that I think about is a lot of South Asian people telling me about this time when 9/11 happened. And now, as a black man, I don't experience perhaps wearing a turban and walking through and somebody stopping me. I will experience it in a different way, you know, because I'm black. Somebody may say, hey, come over here, sir. Whereas after post 9/11, people perhaps with a turban are being pulled over and stopped. So that whole
They
thing about,
are, yeah.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah. So that whole thing about, well, I can't relate to it. It was almost like, well, if you're a brown person, then you can, you know what I mean? You can understand why we might be talking about this.
Right, but the whole issue is that you don't need to be a brown person. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like this is about the fact that we need to have an understanding of something that's separate from us, right? This
Mm.
whole gap needs to be filled of like people don't understand blended relationships, right? That's why this platform is here for so many people to come and say that. Like, you know, it's so important. I'm just getting a little upset about this topic, right? I get really passionate, but it's not about me being brown. Like I should not only care about black people because my boyfriend is black. I shouldn't care about brown people because I'm brown. Like, so that's that whole thing of that back and forth that you had with that person, and us putting it in the book was more so to explain that it doesn't always have to be about what you see, right? It's about what's missing in the world, the narratives that are being missed in the world that need to be talked about and that need to be shared. And I think that's why pushing on Islamophobia and all these other things that we did push for was so that we can, you know, fill in those gaps and know that Islamophobia is a real thing, just like anti-Blackness is. And you know, we need to talk about it just the way we need to talk about colorism and fat shaming in the brown world. Like, not everything is going to be relatable to you, but there's still issues, you know?
100. And I don't even see any hearts flying based off of that, man. That was such a
Yeah,
like,
how
such a
rude.
passionate, like, you know what I mean? No hearts, you know what I mean? No
Maybe
hearts
people
even
don't agree
from,
with me, but whatever.
I mean, man's trying to chat you up in the chat room, can't even throw any hearts out now, man. Well, serious. Don't get
No, but
blocked.
it's
Don't get
oh,
chucked.
somebody sent me a heart eye. That's my brother's fiance. Look, I have the whole family in here. Goodness
Somebody gave a
gracious.
thumbs up, man. Somebody gave a thumbs up. All right, cool.
Thank you.
So, right. So that was one of your favorite ideas. I really like that one as well too. Let's see if I can pick a different one. What I liked is the idea to include a bit of writing space towards the end of some of the stories. So we pose a question at the end of In the DMs. It could be, what are 3 stereotypes you have about Islam? It could be, um, think about a time that you felt like you weren't good enough in a relationship, you know?
Yeah.
Which is it's a much wider conversation that we haven't actually even broached in the community, but it's one that I think a lot of people in blending relationships can relate to.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So that's one of the questions that we ask, and just asking, just wanting to people to reflect. Another really thing I like about it as well too is the size of the book.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a good
it's going to
size.
be, I imagine it's going to be circa kind of 40 to 50 pages, 40, 55 pages. I think well, I do like it that way. Recently read James Baldwin's Fire Next Time, and it was 100 pages, super powerful. The fact that it was 100 pages, you know you're going to get through it. You can pick it up and you can be done with it in a week. So this isn't a 350 pager or anything like that by any means. This is short. This is sharp. This is reflective. This is interactive. It's making you participate with the book and feel the
Yeah,
book.
and I think it was intentional that way, for sure, to have it the size that it was, just because a lot of times, you know, you could have this like really massive book and, you know, not be really proud of the body of work you've created because you have all this other watered down versions of things, right? And I think that making it so short, it's just straight to the point of like, this is what it is. And, you know, it's really reflective. And I think through the entire book, you'll be in reflection, you'll be in thought, you'll be able to relate, you'll be able to, you know, definitely look at things a different way, you know, different than what you're used to. Just because you're in a blended relationship doesn't mean that it's the same narrative, as we know and as we see on this page every day, that it's not just the same thing. And I'm reiterating this again, that it's not a cookie cutter thing. What our idea of a relationship looks like, a blending relationship looks like, you know, is it's different than that. You know what I mean? There's just more complexities and all of these other things involved, right? And so
100%, 100%. And as the
yeah,
person who edits
yeah,
100% of those stories that come through, I thought the same thing. I thought that I would get to a point where I was just like, I'm bored of this, like
yeah,
anti-Blackness again, or
yeah,
this again. But every story, 98% of the stories have something that's just a little bit different to them. Sometimes it's just something that, sometimes it's something so simple as some person talking about how they met their partner and how they met in a cafeteria, and maybe he came up to her and like said like a cheeky like chat up line or something like that, or he just did something really sweet for her, or she did something really sweet
yeah.
for him, or she fought like tooth and nail to like for the relationship, you know. There're just so
Or they
many
didn't,
different.
you know, they weren't together at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah,
or you know, she was Muslim and his family was, you know, perpetuating Islamophobia. Like there's just so many things, and I think that's what is really beautiful about that, is understanding that there's just so many layers to people's narratives, right?
mm,
And struggles. Like it's not black and white, it's very, very different in real life. Like, you know, your parents might not like your partner, and it, you know, what do you do then? It's because he's black, or he's, you know, whatever the case may be. And it's, I think understanding that in these stories was important for me, that it was, they have to be different. And what I really wanted, my objective in that, was to make sure that whatever made these stories different is what stood out when you read them. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? You didn't have to fish for what was unique about it,
for
you
sure.
know?
Or why is this included here, or what were they thinking?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
That
what do
was
you?
really
Okay,
important
right.
for me.
We're towards the end here. So what have you learned through this process? What have you learned about yourself? This is a trick question, right? What have you learned?
What I've learned about myself?
Yeah,
Oh
what
my
have you
goodness,
learned
this is
about
going to be a
yourself?
therapy session.
Yeah, come
Goodness
on.
gracious.
Yeah, group
Um,
therapy. Come on.
oh my God, you and I, and plus 10 other people, and all
Yeah.
the other people that are going to watch this after.
Now 11. Yep. 12. Yep. Yep. 15. Yeah. 20. 25. Yeah. Post it on YouTube
I,
after this. Have it go viral. Viral. Yeah.
I don't think people have seen my teeth this much ever in their
I
lives.
know.
I don't ever.
Magic. I'm gonna
Oh
tell your
Lord, it's
community.
a
I'm gonna
happy
tell
day
your.
for people.
I'm gonna tell your fan base.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of proposals.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I think that what I've learned about myself is that I have so much more I need to do, you know, that these conversations don't end because you've decided to have a conversation with your grandma about why it's okay to have a black partner. Like that
Mm.
doesn't end there. It's not a one conversation. And I think learning that with, you know, the death of George Floyd, I think it was reiterated in society that, whoa, this is not a joke and we need to actually do something about it. And so I think for me, this process of editing this book was to reiterate, like, this is just because you edited this book doesn't mean you've done your part. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
and reading the questions that you get in your DMs, I wouldn't really know how to navigate that if I was getting those DMs. I think that I take a lot of pride in being composed when having these really serious conversations. And I think a lot of the DMs that you sometimes receive are not, I wouldn't be able to compose myself. And so I think I learned to sort of understand the other person's perspective, no matter how, you know, simple it is. And so I've learned that just a lot of work needs to be done still. This is not over, you know, just because you have a book out with 10 narratives of different, you know, Blindian couples. Like, no, I think that more work needs to be followed up with that, you know. And so, yeah.
Jeez, I thought I was done after that. Thought we were done.
No, it's the
We were
beginning. I can
done. I thought
already
we was
tell. I'm
over
really good
after
with
that.
vibes. I can tell. I mean, if you have a DM, somebody saying that stop talking about Islam because conversion isn't a thing, you know that there's a lot of people hating Islam. And you know, there's a lot of people hating on a lot of these things.
Hold
and
on, they're
so,
DMing me saying stop talking about conversion. What are
see?
they saying?
Yeah, they're DMing you about stop conversion and that they don't see themselves in these Islam
Yeah.
stuff, you know. So it's like you don't
Yeah.
have to always see yourself. It's not that literal.
No, you don't. And I think it's actually exciting and interesting when you don't see yourself in the story sometimes and you try to then step into the other person's shoes and and then you carry that into your outside life, right? 2020 year of reflection. What do you call it? The year of
Accountability. I said a
accountability.
lot of, yeah, said a
Yeah,
lot.
is a big word that's been thrown around. So cool. There we go.
Cool.
Um, any quick questions from the congregation? Do we have any questions? By the way, while I'm asking, while I'm waiting for anybody to conjure up any questions, there is a pinned, and I always call it a tweet, but it's not a tweet. And you can pre-order both the ebook PDF version and the physical version. So take a look at it, share it,
Seriously,
tell
take a
your
look
friends
at it.
about
It's
it,
really nice.
tell your
Tell your
friends
friends about
about
it.
it, tell your parents
Tell your
about
friends
it,
about it.
tell your
Tell
amma
your
about
parents
it,
about it for
tell your
sure.
amma
Yeah.
about it, tell your amma
Yeah.
about it as well too.
Tell everybody. Tell your cousins that are racist. You know what I mean? Just tell them all. Send them this book. Buy it for them and send it to them. These are
Good point.
important conversations to have, you know?
That's a good point. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the community or people on here, or just in general for the video?
Yeah, I think that maybe one thing that I would like leave with, and
Yeah.
that
Poem? A poem?
Can you
Go on.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're back.
I think that what I would like to leave with people is be more open-minded to other people's stories and try to still see yourself in those stories that might not be written directly to you, because there might be a lot of hidden gems and messages that you could take away from. You know, I'm not in a Blindian relationship. I'm still able to see myself in these stories. I can relate as a brown girl. I can relate as a woman. I can relate as a person. And so stories don't have to necessarily be about you or about people you love for you to care about them or for them to matter. They matter regardless because they happen to people around the world and they need to be heard and they need to be shared. And so just be more open-minded to that.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I think Dre was saying something about it. It's just about being empathetic, being open-minded, being understanding of somebody else's, I don't want to use plight, but someone else's situation really. Put yourself into their shoes instead of just thinking, oh, that's not me. Like what happens so often is, that's not me. It doesn't affect me. I actually don't even care about that. I'm going to do something else, right? Try to, I mean, from a basic level, that's humanity, right? That's humanity,
and
is caring about people, caring about situations people are going through. So, which doesn't seem like it should be a hard and a difficult thing. It seems like it should be something that you just naturally do.
yeah, but look at the climate of the United States right now. Clearly we know that people don't do that and why we need to do that. And so I think that if that's more telling, if police brutality and systemic oppression isn't already telling of the fact that we need to be more empathetic, but we need to be more understanding of people's stories and what makes them who they are, then we'll always have these gaps, and we'll always try to find ways to fill these gaps in ways that are different than the actual solution. And the solution might be as simple as just reading people's stories and understanding that issues like this do exist and that they're not so far-fetched. You know, people do get sent home because they had a Black partner, and you know what I mean? Like, these are real issues, you know, or forced arranged marriages are a real thing, you know, and they need to be talked about. Yeah.
100.
Yeah. 100. Whoa.
100.
Look at that. You got me on a
Zero,
live. And
0 to 100. Real
yeah,
quick.
I guess.
You see how
Real
I flipped
quick.
that?
Okay.
You see how I flipped that? I flipped it to,
yeah.
I made it kind of
It
geographically
wasn't,
like
I didn't want to be a
centric and
part of
stuff. And I
that.
went, you know, zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, Arsheen.
Yay. Jonah.
Everybody, hey, everybody clap. Can we get a few hearts in here?
Can we get a few hearts? Like, don't be mean. Don't be mean at the end. Yeah.
I think the guy who was trying, who proposed to you has left, has bounced the building. But look, Arsheen, I have thoroughly enjoyed working with you. We're gonna keep it going. We're not done yet, so we're gonna keep it going, definitely.
Yeah.
But no, thank you
So
for being a part of this. Right, you bring something different to the team, and even though your studies are more important than us right now, we appreciate you. So thank you. All right.
Thank you for letting me be a part of it. And I'm so excited to have worked with you. And honestly, I do appreciate our friendship. I think that we have so much, you know, so much to laugh about when we do get on the phone with each other. And it's just been nice to work on something that's bigger than, you know, both ourselves, something that is for the people, by the people.
There you go. There you go. This is gold. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We will see everybody again later on.
Probably
stay
never.
Connected. DM us, PM us, get in touch.
DM us. Yeah.
Let us know what's going on. Check out Arsheen's poetry. Check out her page. Check out her everything, right?
Yeah.
She's got a lot going on over there, and she's going places, right? Okay?
Thank you.
We will see everyone again. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.